And to ensure you get a good crust, you have to mannequin challenge the olive oil.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes when I go to the grocery store, I get to the meat counter and I end up just staring at everything, lost for ideas. I'm in everybody's way. I can't decide. And then I see pork tenderloin and I say to myself, you know what? Why not? It's cheap, it's easy to cook, it's tender, and it takes on a lot of flavor. So next time you find yourself at the grocery store, staring at all the chicken, go pork. So without further ado, my friends, this is spiced pork tenderloin with apple apricot chutney. Yep, apple apricot chutney. Just saying it. Sounds tasty. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to make a spice blend that I'm going to use in the chutney, and for the pork, I'm going to kind of mirror both those flavors. So let's make a spice blend. Pork loves the world of warm spices. So paprika, cloves, chili powder for a little bit of that sweet heat. Let's go nutmeg and coriander. So the base of it is gonna be paprika. Paprika has a great warm flavor. It's not too intense, but it's a great spice to start the spice blend and bulk it out. So paprika, and then a little bit of nutmeg. Nutmeg's nice and powerful, and it's got kind of like that fall warm spice feel to it, but it's pretty intense, so just a little shot of the nutmeg. Okay, just a little shot of the nutmeg. Coriander seed is the seed from the cilantro. It's nice and fresh and bright and vibrant. And a little bit of that mixed in there. Man, it's got a fruity smell to it. It's really citrusy, and it'll go really well with the pork. And some chili powder for some of that warm heat. Not too spicy, but a little chili powder gives it that color, and then those spices toast up, and it goes really well with the mild taste of the pork. And a shot of cloves. This is really intense, but again, it's like the nutmeg and that warm spice feel, and it's gonna go perfect with the pork. So just a couple shots of cloves. That's all you need. It's gonna be delicious. Oh, and I like to balance things out because there's so many nice warm spices in there. If you just put a little bit of sugar in there, when the pork's cooking, it'll help crystallize all those spices, and you'll get a really nice color on the pork. Awesome. Salt and pepper, and you're good to go. You could season the meat if you want, but if you put a nice shot of salt and a little bit of pepper in there, it just highlights all the spices, highlights all the natural flavor of the pork. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so I'm gonna use a spice blend in the chutney and for the pork, so let's talk about a chutney. So a pot here. These apricots are really nice, and they're dehydrated, so they're really nice and chewy, but if you warm them up in a little water and vinegar and sugar, these things really start to shine. So I'm gonna chop up some apricots, and then I like a nut in the chutney. I'm all about the texture. So if you put some nuts in the chutney, you get crunch, you get sweetness. You can use whatever you want. I have pecans lying around, but pecans and the apricots and all the warm spices, it just makes sense. So have fun chopping it up, and this is looking pretty good. All right, let's do it. Okay, that's really nice. The apricots and the nuts are gonna give it chew, some sweetness. The nuts are gonna give it texture. And because pork is savory, I wanna play with the savory notes. So a bit of red onion and a bit of garlic. You can use whatever onion you have lying around, shallots, white onion, but I like red onion. It's got a lighter onion flavor. I like the color, and it goes with sweet and savory. Red onions are great when they're pickled, so a little bit of sugar and the apricots are gonna go really well with the red onion. And give it some texture. Give those onions a nice cut. And when they cook down with a little bit of the sugar and the vinegar, they just become soft and kind of chewy, and it's just delicious. You want a big hit of that onion in the chutney. And it's all about savory, so put a little bit of garlic in there. Not too much, but a little hint of garlic with the onions and the sweet apricots and the nuts and the spices is gonna kind of be one of those things like where you eat it and you think, hey, you put garlic in there? But you kind of don't know. It's one of those mysterious flavors. Okay, so my mother makes this, and it is called apple butter. It's unreal. It's apples, some warm spices, a lot of butter, sugar, and it's cooked down for like 8 hours at 200 degrees. So this stuff is a flavor grenade, and apples and pork are best friends. So this is a great way to kickstart some flavor. If you don't have Mama Linda's apple butter handy, you can use an apricot preserve or an apple preserve, but get some sort of preserve in there, and apple butter and pork, it's perfect. All right, so to highlight it a little bit, I'm gonna use some citrus, the orange, all the spices, the apricots, and the apples. If you put a little orange in there, it brightens it up and it goes so well with pork. It's amazing because pork is such a light meat and it's got a light flavor to it like chicken, so if you throw all of this madness at it, you get the nice natural flavor of the pork, but then something really exciting to go with it. And again, that little shot of orange brightens it up and hits you right on the back of the tongue. What else? Okay, a little bit of vinegar because there's a lot of sweetness going on, and I like the balance between tart and sweet, so you can put a shot of vinegar in there and a little bit of water because the apples are gonna cook down. It's gonna get really nice and sweet, and then a shot of sugar. All right, that's all you have to do. Let that cook down. The onions are gonna soften up. It's gonna mix with the garlic and the nuts and the apricots and the apple and the orange, and when it cooks down, it's nice and chunky and jammy, delicious and perfect for pork. Woohoo! Oh, I forgot, a little bit of the spice blend because you want to mirror the spices in the chutney and in the pork. So just put a little shot of that spice blend in there. Not too much, just like you want that haunting spice in the chutney. Okay, speaking of pork, you know what? I'm gonna clean up. Just give me 1 second. Okay, that's better. So for the pork tenderloin, it's really easy. So I put a little bit of oil on it. The oil is gonna stick to the pork, stick to the spices, stick to the salt. And this is a pork loin. It's really nice and clean. I got it from the grocery store. Just open it up, kind of, it's ready to go. If you see a lot of silver skin on it, just remove it. But this pork looks really good. There's some nice fat in it. Looks delicious. So I know there's a bit of salt in the spice blend already, but just a few crystals of salt on the pork is gonna highlight the natural flavors of the spices. And here's another tip. Don't go too crazy with the spice blend. There is a bit of sugar in there. Spices like to burn, so you just want a little coating. Sometimes I put it on the plate, roll it around. That's perfect. You don't want too much spice on it. You just want enough to season the pork, and again, it'll burn in the pan. So just a light coating. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands and I will meet you right back there. Cooking the pork is great, and it's really simple. Trust me, friends, it's really simple. It's not like a big cowboy steak where you just go one and then turn it and then flip it and then hope for the best. And I like to really roll the pork around and get the crust on all sides. And to ensure you get a good crust, you have to mannequin challenge the olive oil. Okay, so you want a nice shot of olive oil in there, and then let the pan warm up. Don't be shy using a lot of oil because there's a lot of spices on that pork, and it's gonna toast, and you're gonna wanna roll it and roll it and roll it. And look at this chutney. It looks so good. It's starting to cook down with the sugar and the apple butter, and then a little kiss of sugar with the vinegar. It starts to change the onions. It starts to cook down. It looks delicious with chewy apricots and crunchy nuts. It smells so good. That is pork's best friend. And this is an easy weeknight dinner. You cook some pork, a little bit of chutney, make some rice, potatoes, a nice salad. You're good to go. This is gonna be one for the history books. All right, you wanna let the oil get hot. You need a little patience here. How do you know the oil is hot, you might ask? Well, you can see it starting to glisten a little bit, and if some smoke comes up the side of your pan, you know you're good to go, and you want to hear a little sizzle. Do you hear it? That is the perfect sound. You don't want an aggressive sizzle. I cook most of this pork in the pan, so just a light sizzle, and you can see immediately some of the spices go right into the oil. It starts to flavor the oil, and you can see that the pork is already getting a little bit of color from the sugar in it, and the spices love to toast. So just sit there, and pork is great. You can kind of sit here, play with the chutney a little bit, and you can watch it cook kind of in front of your eyes. It's great. So roll it around a little bit. Oh, that's beautiful. That's a great color. The spices aren't overly toasted, and I do this continually, like roll it around, roll it around, roll it around. And pork is great because you can eat it medium, you can have it well done, and because it's pork tenderloin, it's always gonna be tender. All right, so when the pork has a nice crust on it, I take it out of the pan. The pan's done its job. It's toasted up the spices. It looks delicious. And then I go into the oven at 350 degrees. Now, depending on how you like your pork, you can take it out whenever you like it. I like my pork just to be blushing. Oh, I gotta go to the oven. Excuse me. All right, so when the pork is cooked, when it comes out of the oven, it's really important to let it just rest. Just let it relax. You want all the juices to stay in the middle. It's going off like a firework inside there, so you want to let it relax. It's going to retain the moisture. So I let it rest for about 10 minutes. And look at this apricot chutney. All the onions have cooked down. There's tons of texture, there's tons of flavor. There's apples, apricots, pecans, spice mix. It's just delicious and a perfect accompaniment for pork. All right, let's start with that. And you want a lot. Don't be shy with the chutney. That's gonna give you all the texture, all the flavor. And like I said, the pork meat is pretty mild, so you put it on a bed of this chutney, it's just delicious. Every bite is gonna be like a landmine of flavor. Delicious. Okay, check the pork out. It's rested, it's got some nice crust from the spices, and look at the middle of it. It should just be blushing. That's perfect. Slice it up, get it on the platter. 1, 2, smells so good!
Y'all ready to turn it up tonight? If you really want to fly, your hands in the air, let the music get you high.
That looks absolutely delicious. For any day of the week, spiced pork tenderloin with apricot, apple, pecan chutney. It smells wild. I love the flavor of all the spices in there. It goes so well with pork. You can put that with chicken. You could put that in your hair. You could drink it if you wanted to. It smells wildly delicious. I gotta taste it. It's because of my mom's apple butter. I can't get enough of that stuff. All rise for the national anthem. It's so delicious. It's got texture, it's chewy, it's sweet, it's spicy, it's got notes of apples and apricots and the crunchy pecans. It is just perfect.
From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
The shepherd needs to tend to his flock. Whoa, and at times fight off the wolves. Camera guys never bring lunch.